Live from WTOC, the Southeast News leader. The News Now starts on WTOC Plus.
Thanks for joining us here for the news on WTOC Plus. I'm digital anchor Jude Binkley. We start with news out of Hampton County, where 2 sheriff's deputies were injured after a patrol car was stolen. Here's what we know. It happened near the Charleston Highway. Officials say a high-speed pursuit happened after the patrol car was stolen, which ended when the stolen patrol car was stopped near Palmetto Avenue and Cemetery Road. The suspect is now in custody. Now, the Hampton County Sheriff's Office says 2 deputies sustained injuries during the incident, and they were taken to a medical facility for evaluation and treatment. The Sheriff's Office said, quote, their conditions are being monitored at the time. They went on to say that their prayers are with the deputies. Well, we have a WTOC update to a story we brought you first yesterday. A 17-year-old was seriously injured after being shot on Savannah's east side Monday morning. It happened just after 10:30 a.m. in the area of Forest Avenue. Savannah police say the juvenile was shot in the abdomen in an alley, but he was able to run into a nearby home. Police say the shooting wasn't a random act. The suspect and the victim knew each other. At last word, the victim does remain in the hospital, and police say the investigation is ongoing. Well, a Bacon County jailer is facing serious felony charges, accused of having sexual contact with an inmate. An investigation found that 44-year-old David Jackson had sexual contact with a female inmate on multiple occasions. Investigators say Jackson also brought contraband into the jail several times. He's now facing 3 felony charges: improper sexual contact by an employee, possession of firearms prohibited for inmates, and violating his oath of office. Well, the Savannah Hilton Head International Airport is growing, which is something we've been reporting for months now. Today, airport leadership and stakeholders are going over the vision for the next 20 years at the airport. The growth is expected, something they've been tracking for more than 10 years now. Leaders say they may have to lose some of the southern charm we're used to seeing, though, to make sure renovations and expansions are up to par. The new gate expansion project that'll add 4 more gates is expected to be completed later this year. Other changes include building a new interchange system near the airport, changing traffic lights on Benton Boulevard, and growing the parking lot to 9,000 additional spots. Airport Commission Executive Director Greg Kelly says it's important to remember where we came from, being a small-town airport. However, he says things have to change. Despite being ranked the #1 airport across the country 6 years in a row, some of the infrastructure is now around 30 years old.
It's a priority of ours to try to maintain at the end of the projects that same kind of feeling that the users of the airport are used to. But to get to that point, it's going to be basically pardon our mess for the next 3 years on the terminal building as we add on and modernize.
Their next meeting with more pictures and diagrams will be either late March or early April. In state news, Georgia's 40-day legislative session is now underway. Lawmakers are expected to tackle issues affecting families, schools, and taxes. Lawmakers were welcomed with heightened security and growing public pressure. A long line wrapped around the Capitol yesterday as visitors waited to pass through security. Inside, they marked the new session emphasizing cooperation. Advocacy groups gathered with signs and speeches highlighting topics like education funding, gun safety, and public trust in government.
I'm very concerned about bills that would restrict our freedoms.
I think the most important message is for the legislators to be aware that their constituents really care.
5 lawmakers were also sworn in on opening day after winning special elections last year to fill vacant seats. And as the state legislative session resumes, advocates are pushing hard on issues relating to cannabis. Groups from across Georgia are speaking out on medical use, adult use, decriminalization, and the need to end stigma. Georgia is currently a medical cannabis state, meaning only eligible patients can purchase and possess low THC products. Advocates say legislators need to hear their requests as they push for more than a dozen bills this session. That focus includes expanding medical options, protecting patients from incarceration, and increasing access for those who rely on cannabis for health and wellness.
It's a little bit preaching to the choir because we all love this incredible plant. It's still within the walls of a building that doesn't hear enough about how incredible this plant is and how essential it is for our survival, I think.
Because we want to make sure that there are no mandatory minimums. No patient should worry about being incarcerated for their plant.
Advocates hope this session will bring concrete changes, and they're ready to push lawmakers to act on cannabis legislation that's been in the making for years. Well, Georgia Governor Brian Kemp will deliver his final State of the State address at the state capitol. He's expected to outline his priorities for the legislative session on Thursday. Now, the State of the State is happening at 11 a.m. Thursday. You can stream it right here on WTOC+. The governor is in his second consecutive term, which runs until January of next year. Well, in state news that we continue to track this week, a Georgia prison brawl left 3 inmates dead and families searching for answers. An eyewitness says it all happened inside the prison's visitation area, where she says a group of inmates burst through the door, bodied and armed, leaving visitors scrambling. Maggie Fitzgerald has the story.
How much worse it could have been.
An eyewitness says it all happened in seconds. A routine Sunday visit with a loved one at Washington State Prison turning into a nightmare. The witness asked to remain anonymous for her safety, but she says something felt off when she saw guards bolt out of the visitation area Sunday afternoon, leaving one female officer inside.
Something going on. We heard very loud, almost yelling coming from the walkie-talkies. You could hear her say, "Don't open that door, you can't come in here."
Shouting from the guard, first directed at inmates deeper into the facility, then to visitors, telling them to get out. The witness says the group overpowered a guard, taking his keys to then break into the visiting room.
The prisoners that were trying to come through the door were right behind her, hot on her heels, because there's blood and weapons, and they just busted through a door. They're standing between us and our loved ones.
The riot-style attack left 3 men dead, including 23-year-old Ahmad Hatcher. Hatcher's family says they are demanding answers and accountability, claiming he had warned his mother about unsafe conditions inside the prison.
A piece of my heart just was torn out of my chest. He was scared of his life. They were a cause of my son to get killed because they wasn't doing their job.
Turning now to health news. Flu cases have skyrocketed in Georgia and across the country, but health officials are warning illnesses are still likely to climb. The Atlanta-based Centers for Disease Control estimates more than 15 million cases nationwide this season. Now, the CDC released this map you can see on your screen. It shows multiple states experiencing high or very high levels of the flu, both Georgia and South Carolina labeled under that very high category. Across the country, roughly 180,000 people have been hospitalized and more than 7,000 have died. Most of the cases are from a severe strain of the flu known as subclade K.
This subclade K, which is a new strain that probably is not included in the current vaccine.
The CDC estimates 130 million doses of the vaccine have been distributed nationwide this season, but that covers less than 40% of the U.S. population. Doctors encourage you to still get the flu shot. In sports news, the return of a franchise legend. Matt Ryan was officially introduced as the Falcons' president of football. In his new role, Ryan will oversee all aspects of the team on the field. He will report directly to owner Arthur Blank. Ryan spent 14 of his 15 NFL seasons with the Falcons, and earlier today, during a press conference, Ryan had this message for the Dirty Bird Nation.
To the Falcons fans, my mission since I was drafted has never changed. You know, it is to help this organization do everything it can to be champions and to win championships. And, you know, there is a sense of unfinished business.
One of Ryan's top priorities is to get a new head coach for the Falcons. He says he's confident in his search to find the right fit. And Ryan's already conducting interviews for head coach. The latest addition to that list, former Miami Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel is interviewing with the Falcons. McDaniel actually coached Matt Ryan from 2015 to 2016 with the Falcons. McDaniel has become the 6th candidate for the job, joining former Ravens head man John Harbaugh, which was also announced today, along with Dolphins defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver, Seattle Seahawks coordinators Clint Cobain and Aiden Durde, and former Cleveland head coach Kevin Stefanski. Well, Elon Musk's AI chatbot Grok is facing intense criticism, accused of allowing X users to generate fake, sexually explicit images of real women and children. Several countries have already banned the bot, and others are considering it. CBS News' Jolene Kent spoke to a woman with a personal connection to Musk, who described how Grok created fake images of her.
Consider what it means when someone has this much data and this much power, and even when they're quite explicitly breaking laws and legislation.
27-year-old Ashley St. Clair is sounding the alarm after Elon Musk's AI chatbot Grok generated and published sexualized deep-fake images without her permission and shared them on X.
How does it make you feel when you see your likeness being manipulated like that?
The worst for me was seeing myself undressed, bent over, and then my toddler's backpack in the background, because I had to then see that and see myself violated in that way and such horrific images, and then put that same backpack on my son the next day, because it's the one he wears every day to school.
St. Clair, an author and mother of 2, has a son with Musk. She's one of many victims of non-consensual sexual deepfakes created and shared by Grok.
Did you ask Grok to take those photos down?
I did, multiple times. Grok said, I confirm that you don't consent. I will no longer produce these images. And then it continued to produce more and more images and more explicit images.
St. Clair says she filed a report directly with XAI, which operates Grok. Some of the images were then removed.
When you think about the person who is leading this tech and making it available to the public, what do you want to say to that?
Make it stop. This can be stopped with a singular message to an engineer.
Last week, Malaysia and Indonesia banned Grok, while regulators in the United Kingdom have launched an investigation. A recent study by AI Forensics, a nonprofit that investigates the algorithms of major platforms, found that more than half of the Grok images they reviewed contained individuals in minimal attire, the vast majority of them women.
What do you say to the people out there watching who say, oh, she's got a bone to pick with Elon Musk?
If they want to say my bone to pick is the chatbot undressing minors and myself and stripping me nude, yes, you're right. I have a bone to pick with that. And I don't care who's doing it. So Elon's not special about me speaking out on this.
CBS News reached out to Musk and has not received a response yet. On January 3rd, XAI said it takes action against illegal content on X, including child sexual abuse material, or CSAM, by removing it, permanently suspending accounts, and working with local governments and law enforcement as necessary.
What would you like to see the U.S. government do to solve this problem?
Make it stop.
How?
They need to regulate it.
How?
AI should not be allowed to generate and undress children and women. That's what needs to happen.
There are existing laws against those types of images.
And they need to enforce them.
Who should enforce them?
Who's ever responsible for enforcing them. Not me.
St. Clair tells us her ability to earn money on X has since been revoked since she spoke out. And when we asked if she plans to take legal action, she said she's considering all options available. Now, it's worth remembering that Grok is driven by information that users give it, and it learns from your interactions unless you opt out. And the platform is training on an enormous amount of data. As for the custody situation, Musk says he plans to file for full custody over allegations that St. Clair might transition their 1-year-old. But a source close to St. Clair says this is, quote, absurd and unequivocally false. Jolene Kent, CBS News, Los Angeles.
All right, well, before we sign off here on WTOC Plus, had one thing we wanted to tell y'all about because Savannah is getting ready to celebrate Martin Luther King Jr. Day with a big parade. According to Savannah Mayor Van Johnson during his press conference earlier today, this is the largest MLK Day parade in the country.
We've been told that Atlanta used to have the largest one, obviously. They changed it to more of a march than a parade. So we're going to own the largest parade. I don't know of other parade in the country that's 3 hours long that has, 300 plus units that you start during breakfast and you end during lunch.
And we've got you covered so you can watch all the parade action in one place. Tune in to WTOC or right here on WTOC Plus Monday morning at 10 a.m. for our full parade coverage. All right, and with that, we are going to wrap things up here for the news on WTOC Plus. We appreciate y'all spending part of your afternoon with us. A little bit of programming notes because we have a handful of things coming up at 1:30 on the main WTOC feed that you're watching right now. We will have the First Alert Weather Show coming up in less than 15 minutes with Dave Turley at 1:30. And then on the secondary stream, which means if you're watching on the website or the app, you have to scroll down one, and it's that WTOC Plus breaking news and weather feed. At 1:30, we'll be hearing from the Hampton County Sheriff about recent safety concerns after several shootings in the county. So that'll be an extended stream on the secondary. Again, the WTOC Plus breaking news and weather feed, where we normally have our weather radar, since we have two shows essentially going on at the same time. And then at 2 o'clock, we'll be back here on WTOC Plus for our regular show. And until then, you can always head on over to our website to catch the latest. And thanks for watching, and here's Local News Live.